I know what the title of this video is going to be. Nissa hates my Defender. Here's why.
This. Hate it. Stupid car. What?
Hello guys, welcome back to Gearbox TV. We are about to begin a long weekend of fitting some big upgrades to my Td5 Defender right behind us. Starting out with a brand new clutch, which we'll get into in just a moment, but also some changes to the transfer box. Nissa, can you tell the boys and girls what we're doing with the transfer box?
Yes, for the transfer box, as you may or may not know, in the Defender, it standard comes with the gearing that says 1 to 4, where in the Disco, the normal gearing it comes with is 1 to 2, 1, 1. And that is how many revolutions the engines make compared to how many revolutions the wheels make. So by changing the gearing down to go lower, that will then make you go, your revs go lower, but your speed go higher, so you can be cruising easier on the highways and stuff. I just swapped mine from a 1 to 2 to a 1 to 1 from Ashcroft, a really nice kit. And that means I've got mine laying right in front of the camera, the 1 to 2, which we'll then be swapping into yours, which is 1 to 4. And that way you should get the nice cruising feeling and drop the RPMs down quite a bit when you're cruising on the highway.
Yeah, so effectively we're going to be putting the Disco transfer box,
Disco gearing,
the internals of it
into
the Defender, which, as Nis said, will make it nicer for the kind of highway cruising type stuff. And then we've got the clutch, which we're going to go with it as well, so because we're going to be taking everything apart down there anyway, and my Defender is in need of a new clutch. And of course we've already done this job to your Disco. Last year we fitted the extreme spec clutch from LOF clutches. LOF clutches are best in the business at this, so I've naturally gone with them again. This time I've gone for a power spec clutch as opposed to extreme, and this is still good for 200 horsepower, stage 2 tune and everything that I use this for, so it's absolutely enough for my needs. And this is the full single mass flywheel kit, so we've got the power spec clutch in here, the single mass flywheel, and basically everything that you need to do this job. And on top of that, we have what appears to be a banner, which we're very excited about, because I didn't know this was coming. And, oh, it's closed. I need to open it. So if this is what we think it is.
This is the best surprise.
This is, yeah, this is a, or is it just going to be white? Let's see. No.
Oh, there's something on it.
It is a banner. It's upside down. There we go.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome. So now basically we need to go get our own workshop and put this in it.
Yeah, like a Land Rover only
like
workshop.
Gearbox TV only workshop, and put this up. That is awesome. So thank you very much, Luke.
Can you tell me about the kit? The kit you got, was that everything included?
It should be. I mean, you will know more about what all these bits are, but it should be everything needed for the job. Yeah,
and you got that off this website as well.
Yeah, this bundle is actually available right now on the website, and at least at the time of filming, there is an offer on it. It is discounted slightly if you want this full kit, basically. So go check that out, and then. Yeah, it should basically be everything you need to do this job. I'm guessing the flywheel is down here. This is heavy. Thank you for purchasing your new clutch from LOF Clutches. You're welcome. Bits, more bits. Clutch lever. This looks like something you could wear as armour.
I think it won't stop that much.
Probably not, but there you go. This is some heroin. Right there.
Oh, very nice. A lot of heroin.
Spring. Actually, that's the other thing, is this comes also with the spring, which we've already fitted, so we won't be using this. The power spring, and I think... No, it doesn't come with a cylinder, I don't think. I think it's just the spring. But at least the spring as well, which is a nice little upgrade to have.
It costs nothing, it is.
To lighten my clutch. So...
Clutch alignment tool. Got 2 of these now.
Oil seal crank.
Yeah.
More of this funny stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything you need here.
And then
You'll just be swapping all these things out, even though they're worn or not, because we don't want to take the gearbox off again later.
Well, this is all going to be much higher quality probably than what's in there anyway, so
especially after 300,000 kilometers it will be.
And then we have the single mass.
That's a heavy boy. Big boy.
So there we go. I actually don't know what is next. I guess it's just taking the stuff apart.
Yeah.
So
we've got a nice instruction here how to do, like, fit the flywheel, the torque measurements and all that. how many degrees you need to do it. But first of yours is get it up into the air, empty out
That would help.
Yeah, the engine oil, because we'll be fitting this one.
Yeah.
Then we'll do the gearbox and the transfer box, empty those out with oil, and then pretty much disconnect everything from the two gearboxes. And what we learned last time was to take the transfer box off first and place it on the ground so you don't standing with 100 kilos or how
exactly.
much.
Gearbox and transfer box.
So take transfer box off and then take the gearbox off afterwards. So that is the end goal for today. We got the whole weekend, until
it's
Sunday.
Friday evening now.
Friday evening.
We basically got this weekend to do it, and we did your one last February, and that took us like 3 days.
3 days.
I think it was 3 days.
The last day we just did the last bits of that.
But hopefully, like we basically cursed it by you need to do all these like tap on wood and whatever superstitious thing you do. But hopefully it will go quicker and smoother this time because we kind of know what to do and we know the tricks compared to last time when we did your disco.
Yeah, it was completely
and you tell me the Defender should be simpler.
From what I know, I spoke to another mechanic, Land Rover mechanic, about. He said the Defender's a bit more simple. It's quite easy to get to, which is all box formed compared to that.
There's more packaging.
It's more open in the Defender, so it should be easy to do it. So we can also do it out in the bush. The design wise.
I'd rather do it in here.
Yeah, I just took my transfer case out over in the other garage on the floor. I had about this much space to work with. That was absolutely painful.
And then also on top of that as well, we're going to be doing a full service while it's up in there and we've got everything taken apart just because that's easy. So I've got a full box over there with all the servicing bits, but we've obviously covered that a couple of times before, so we won't go into too much depth on that. This is the Focus, this and the transfer box I'm really excited about because I've heard a lot of people say it makes a big difference to the way the Defender drives, so I'm really looking forward to that. And of course knowing that I have this awesome quality clutch down there as well once it's all in. So let's go get on with it.
Cue the music. So now we are about 30 minutes in. We got the exhaust pipe off. We got the handbrake assembly off and being drained the oil from the engine, the gearbox and the transfer box. Next up would be disconnecting all the wires and the front prop shaft as well, getting that off. And I think the most annoying thing we have to do is to take the downpipe off that sits onto the turbo. Those bolts can be a bit annoying to get off at times, but I think that's the biggest problem we got right now. But once we get the downpipe off, get the prop shaft out and all the wires off, we should be able to lift it out.
The sound of a Td5.
Stage 2.
As demonstrated by Nissa.
Or maybe the horn from the Lord of the Rings, I don't know.
Or maybe it's just Nissa spitting into a tube.
Nobody knows.
So I've just taken the wheels off to make it a bit easier to get under and around the Defender. You can see them sitting down over here. We've got all the bits we've taken off so far here, centre pipe, the handbrake, prop shafts and so on. Nissa, how's it going with your bit now?
Okay.
Okay. Then I won't ask any further. But we found some disturbing discoveries up here in the form of a hole, which I guess is pretty, to be expected on a vehicle like this now. But for a while now I've been saying that I would love to do a full restoration on this at some point in the not too distant future, or at the very least put it on a galvanized chassis, but maybe that's going to be coming in the nearer future than not too distant if we find more stuff like that, because there's also some worrying bits in here which I'll point out a bit later. So, but at least we now have the Gwyn Lewis mud shield kit with the mud flaps coming down as well, and this all protected, so actually it shouldn't get any worse. And then this kind of section here of this outrigger is still solid. It's just the back side there which is looks like it's been shot out or something, but I'm guessing it's just kicked everything up into this hole and then made that rotten. But this bit is still okay, so that's good, and it shouldn't get any worse because it's protected by that now.
just got the cross member here, the stiffener out. It's just right before the engine comes, between the engine and the gearbox. And luckily it isn't rotten, because this bit here is completely closed off. But what we actually found was completely nice solid metal. Probably that's what the frame looked like when it came out of the factory. The other side is a bit more rusty, but luckily it's only surface rust on this side. Still plenty of metal there, luckily. It was quite tight to get out. It'll be quite exciting to get it back in when we have to assemble it all, but we'll do that once everything is back in order and do this last probably.
You having fun?
I think we do this long enough, we'll find a spare set of keys for it.
Well, that just means it's been used properly, right?
So we are now gotten some of the wires off. We got the selector for the diff lock off. Got the engine, or the mount for the transfer box off, just the bottom one. So now we're just going to lift it up, loosen the other ones, and then this will carry the weight off it. And then we're just going to slowly take it down. We also took out the bolts that connects the LT230 to the R380 gearbox. So after this mount is off, we should be able to pull it slowly backwards, and then hopefully brace it down and get onto the ground.
So transfer case is out. As you can see, it's pretty mucky around here, and we suspect that seal may have been leaking, so we need to see if we can solve that. The next step is to get the car down and get inside and start dismantling the gearbox from above so we can get it out from below. So with the levers inside removed, we now need to get the bell housing, slave cylinder, and the mount, which is, so you can't actually see it at the moment because it's so dark, but up here, and then we should be good to go with getting the gearbox out, and then I think we are done for today. So to fast forward a bit, it is now past midnight, and we just spent ages trying to get the starter motor off and then some of the bolts for the bell housing, but fingers crossed we can get the gearbox out now at last.
There it goes.
It's out. It is out. So it is the morning after the night before, and we are re-energized after a good night's sleep. First, we're going to start off by heading up to the washer with the transfer box and gearbox and giving them a good clean to get all the grime off of those, and then we can hopefully start putting the new parts in here. We're going to start out by trying to scrape some of the crap out. Put some engine cleaner on it to get the oil and grease and stuff off. I'll let that sit and then try and wash it all off. And hopefully this should be really satisfying. Forward, and there is 21 years of mud and oil removed, and we can even see nice little details like the Land Rover logo down there. So it is time to get these up into the gator once again and then head back to the workshop, and hopefully we can start putting everything back together once again in the Defender.
So now we have taken out the old clutch, and right here on the table we got the new clutch and the old clutch, which is 3 components in total. First we got the flywheel here, we got the pressure plate, and we've got the friction plate here. Now the main difference between them, except that this is looking a lot nicer than this, is that the new kit we're fitting is a single mass flywheel, where the old one here is a dual mass, the same as we fit onto mine. And as you can see here, when I'm trying to rotate this, they got a tiny bit of play in it. And that is because the springs are located inside of the flywheel, where in the new kit the springs are located into the disc itself, the friction plate here, where on the old one they're not. So this is just one piece of solid that grinds onto here. Whenever that grabs on, it will start to rotate the flywheel, where now it will start rotating through the gearbox instead, through the friction plate, where the main difference is. Other than that, what we can see from wear is we've got this very wavy looking metal here. I don't know if I can catch it in the light, but that definitely means there's quite a lot of wear on it. And what we can see, there's just a stock clutch that I've been running the stage 2 tune for quite a while now, so that will definitely start to eat it up a bit more. And same as we can see here on the dual mass, but there are no scorch marks or anything. And the friction plate also looks, you've got quite a lot of material and it's not coming apart as you touch it. So it's not completely gone clutch, but it was about time to swap in it as well. Just 20 years of time will deteriorate a clutch for wear and tear and just driving off-road and getting a bit moist and water and oil onto it. And also took out, in the kit as well comes these bolts, which are the stretch bolts you need to fasten the flywheel onto the rear of the engine, the crank of the engine. Comes with a new kit of these, as these are stretch bolts and needs to be replaced as well. And also got the bolts here for fitting the pressure plate onto the flywheel with the friction plate in between. And these ones are torque heads, I think, or some kind of other type of heads, where these ones are studs sticking out off it. That's kind of the main difference I noticed when I did it. And of course you've got the nice instructions here on how to fit it. Comes in the box. There's 2 pages. This one how to put on the flywheel and how to torque it up, and then we got this main how to use the clutch after you install it and so on. But it's quite nice to have this piece of paper so you know what this specific clutch needs to be torqued up to and fit in. So, and other than that, we also got the old rear crank oil seal, which we thought was a sinner of seeping oil into the main box, but I don't think it was. I think it was the fuel pressure regulator that's seeping oil into the box for you. I couldn't see any oil around it, but we'll be replacing this no matter what. Now we're in it. It would be a shame to completely do your clutch and then take it out for a drive and find out that this is leaking. You have to take it all out apart again. And of course in the kit comes a new one here, straight to be fitted. And last thing, our spigot bearing have now been in oil for close for 24 hours. And the reason you do this is the only type, or the only way the thing will get oil before you install it into the engine itself. So you need to loop it up now, let it drink all the oil it can, put it in, and that way it will last the next 10 or 15 years without start squeaking. Unless Land Rover or the Defender deploys a self-lubricating system by blowing a seal and start lubricating all the other parts. But if that doesn't happen, it's a good thing just to drop it in oil for 24 hours before install. The clutch now installed. We got the flywheel, we got the fiber disc, and we got the pressure plate installed. To start off with, the flywheel, first you put in the bolts, use a Loctite onto them just to be sure. There's already pre-Loctited, but it says also in the manual I have to do it. After that you tighten first with 40 Newton meters, do it diagonally, so do the bolts opposite each other so you get it pushed in properly, it doesn't swirl to one side. After that you do a 90-degree tighten, and after that you check over with 180 Newton meters to make sure they're tight. After that, of course, you also got a new spigot bearing. You're going to put that in. And what a good thing to do with the spigot bearing is just to make a tiny groove with the file in it. For what we found out with mine is it was too tight. So once we put the axle from the gearbox into the spigot bearing, the air behind actually got trapped and then pushed the spigot bearing out onto the axle itself. And that means my spigot bearing wasn't there. It was just going very tightly. So I just made 2 small grooves with a file, very small ones, just to let the air pass through and make it easier to install. Then went ahead and put the fiber disc and the pressure plate onto here. These ones get tightened with 28 Newton meters. And of course you're going to use your alignment tool here. You're going to use at that end, not at that end, as I just found out. I put that in, it was like wobbling about. Turn around, got this nice little piece made for it. And as you tighten the bolts, make sure this goes freely in and out of it so it doesn't bind up. You can get it in and out quite smoothly. And after that, of course, when you install the fiber disc, have to make sure that it says a gearbox side towards yourself, because that's what the gearbox will be, otherwise the clutch will not work properly. And when you tighten everything up, we've got this nice tool here from Luke, which is, we actually made our own. We tried to find it just now, but I think it's somewhere gone. We just made our own 2 holes in a plate and welded these 2 tabs on, which goes in and lock onto the flywheel where the starter motor goes in and tucks onto it. So that's quite a nice addition as well, in the LOF green as we know it, same green color, really nice looking, good tool. We'll definitely be keeping this one. I don't think it will be the last time we'll be swapping any clutches, so but hopefully the last time in a while, because it's quite a big job to do.
That is a sight I've been looking forward to for a very long time. I always feel like products that look this good that you're never going to see again, that's almost like a sign of quality for me, that attention to detail, knowing that it looks this good and well made, but it's just going to be covered up. So I'm sure that will be in there for many happy miles to come. In the meantime, I've just been using a wire brush on the chassis rails here to try and get rid of some of this surface rust as well, so that we can protect this all up. But with that in, I suppose we can get the gearbox back in now.
So here we got a comparison between the standard throwout bearing that comes with the Defender and the LOF, well, high spec heavy duty throwout bearing, much better made. If you take a look at the standard one, you got a bearing in here rolling around, and this is what goes onto the pressure plate of the fins going out whenever you engage the clutch, which then removes the plate so the clutch disc isn't sandwiched anymore. And what happens on quite old and worn vehicles is this will start to make a really hard rattle or scraping sound whenever you engage the clutch. And really it is just old plastic bit here from the rear bit, and then you got the bearing, which of course has to be metal to not get worn. But if you go and have a look at the heavy duty bearing, you got this whole bit here, which is one big surface area compared to this inner ring which engages before. We've got this whole bit here, and the whole thing is made out of metal, no plastic here, because what happens if you play a lot on it, this will start to get hot. When that gets hot, the plastic will start to melt. You can actually see it kind of places here will start to wear quite a lot. So that's a bad one. Of course, if you're running just a standard tune or anything like that, it'll be fine. It'll last you 10 years, no problem, even more than that. But if you want more power, you need this kind of type, which also comes in the kit. Really nice, the same one I've got on mine. So this will be the one we'll be fitting back on, and we'll be throwing this out. So I just finished up building the gearbox, so I was fitting all the new parts that we got. First thing is the new fork that comes in the kit. I'm pretty sure it's just a completely standard fork, just a brand new one. The main wear bit on the fork is the 2 lugs going out here, catching on to the release bearing. We got some metal on metal contact, or metal to plastic as it was in the other one, and also this recess here, a small hole where this bit goes into. And of course you get all new bits, even some of them are better. The standard one is this tiny small plastic clip holding in the push rod for the clutch fork, with the pin here for the clutch fork. Brand new of these, stainless steel probably, and also metal folded, so this plastic is quite flimsy, and you kind of a bit scared if that breaks, because then you have to get the whole gearbox out. It's quite easier just to get some proper parts to make sure that's not going to happen. So that one's new. We got a new one of these as well. You can see it's kind of starting to get a tiny bit of a hat on, more or less, and that's because it's been sitting inside this hole here, just getting pushed through, which means that you actually get a shorter travel of the clutch, which is, if you already got one clutch, that's going to be a big of a problem. So new one of these installed as well, also comes in the kit. New fork, you get the plastic bushing that you push into this bit where the ball center ball that kind of pivots the whole assembly sits in. New one of those, and also this little plastic retainer clip for the release bearing. You get a middle one of these as well. Once it goes across both forks, you kind of like push it into it, so that's definitely not going to come off. This is really just a flimsy bit here, so don't want that. And a brand new fork, and as well with that, gave it all some lube of the places, the joints that move from that little syringe that we didn't know what was, if it was a cure for HIV or the coronavirus, or it's just straight up heroin, and we don't know, but we're gonna use it for grease for now and hoping that's what it is. So it's now the end of day 2, and what have we done? We have washed the gearboxes, we have gotten the old clutch out, the new clutch in, and we have got the gearbox, the main gearbox, back on and tightened that down and done all the wires as well for it. So for tomorrow we need to do the LT230 transfer box, do the ratio swap in that for the morning. After that we need to get the starter motor back onto the engine, and then we're probably going to do a full service on the engine, as we already have loosened the sump, so we have tightened that back up, and now we can fill the engine again. And once we have done that, we're just going to do a quick test and see if the spigot bearing haven't moved when we got the gearbox in, just to see if there are no weird sounds. So we're just going to start him up, hold the clutch in, put him in gear, let go of the clutch, see if everything goes as normal, put the clutch in, if there's no sounds, all good. Once we've done that, we'll go ahead and put the transfer box, we'll just swap the ratio, put that guy back on, take in the 5 bolts that holds him in, and then it's just handbrake, the cross member, shafts, really just small stuff from there, and of course the linkage for the 4-wheel drive as well on top of it, and then we should be good to go for a test drive tomorrow at some point. We are now on the 3rd and final day. Hopefully today is the day we get Liam's car out and driving again. Before we do that, as I said, we need to swap out the gearing, which we're going to do here from the morning.
So we got the transfer box back in with the new gearing, and it's also had a full service, changed all the filters, the oil, and so on. But that has presented a brand new problem, because upon trying to start it, well, it doesn't do that, it doesn't start. The fuel pump is no longer priming when you turn the key, and we don't know why. Presumably, we must have disturbed something over the last couple of days, a wire perhaps, an earth, something like that. So now we're just putting everything back together, making sure everything is clean, and crossing our fingers that it will kind of solve itself. And if not, then there's potentially a much bigger problem on our hands here.
Oh. It was just the earth wires. Is that working? Still hate it. Absolutely hate it.
I know what the title of this video is going to be. Nissa hates my Defender. Here's why.
This. Hate it. Stupid car. What?
I almost started this off with saying hello guys and welcome back to TSpec TV there, because there's been such a long amount of time since the last clip you would have seen where we were in the workshop finishing this off and now, and that mainly just comes down to the fact that I've been busy and the car has needed some tweaks here and there to set this up properly, as you do, like bleeding the clutch and so on since then. But we were kind of a bit rushed, I think, when we finished off at the workshop, because we were trying to do it over the weekend. It was a Sunday evening, Nissa was going away the next morning, and it was already late that evening, so we were kind of rushing to get everything done, and there were a few tweaks here and there that still needed to be done, which I think are now sorted. And now we just have this 500 miles of bedding in time in front of us. So for 500 miles I need to be relatively sensible with the clutch and my driving style, to make sure that it lasts as long as it should. And I've done about a bit over 100 miles so far, and it's awesome. It's really, really good. Obviously this clutch is better set up than the standard one, and my windscreen wiper's just fallen off, and it's rained. Oh god. I'm gonna have to alright, I'm gonna have to find a place to pull over, because my right windscreen wiper has just fallen off, and it is raining for the first time in over a week, after a week of 30-degree heat. So that's nice. Anyway, yes, we've got the PowerspecC clutch fitted, which is suited to up to 200 horsepower and 450 newton meters of torque. This should be running about 180, 190, so that's absolutely fine. And there's also the extreme spec above that, which we fitted to Nissa's Disco 2. But I don't have any plans right now to go further with the tuning. I'm very happy with the setup, so the PowerspecC is good for me, combined with the single mass flywheel. And then we also had, we also fitted the Disco 2 transfer box setup with the 1:2 ratio gearing, as opposed to the 1 to 4 before. And I'm very happy to report that I think it does. I mean, obviously it makes a difference, but whether it makes a noticeable difference, and it does feel kind of calmer, I would say, more relaxed at these cruising speeds. And I really look forward to doing some more with it. Obviously I haven't driven it that much relatively since the clutch job was done, but I look forward to doing some longer trips with it and really getting a feel for how it is. And it does feel quieter, it does feel calmer in here while at those motorway cruising speeds. Obviously there's a lot of road noise still, which is just part of the way a Defender is built, but as some of the upcoming mods, I do have a neat solution to that, to try and reduce some of the noise in here as well, so I'm really looking forward to that. And as a nice way to tie this all together, I am actually now driving the Defender to another place to have some more work done. Because normally when I film these I'm kind of just driving around aimlessly until I finish saying what I've said. But I'm actually driving somewhere now to drop the Defender off and have some work done, which I think is a really nice way to tie into whatever the next video is, because this is a big deal, I think, what's about to happen. I think a lot of you will be very happy about it as well. It's not a... Oh, I'm going to stop here to fix my windscreen wiper. Just found a convenient lay-by. So I will be back in just a second. There we go. Windscreen wiper fixed for now. Let's see if it can last the 14 minutes more to the destination before it falls off again. Yeah, we've done a lot of work to this Defender over the last year. We had the cross member, the steering box, now the clutch, transfer box. I'm probably forgetting something, and now I'm on my way to drop it off to have something else pretty big done, big for me anyway. So I'm really happy to report actually that it for the first time in a very, very long time, it drives so nicely again. It feels normal, it feels usable again, and there's obviously these finishing touches to apply here and there, and I've got a lot of ideas for things I want to do, just little details, stones, to make it really, really nice again, and I'm really happy with where it is. And the other day actually I drove it to work. My drive to work is about 45 minutes, and I drove it to work and it was great. It was absolutely faultless. I know that doesn't sound like that amazing, like, oh, you can drive 45 minutes without any faults, so what? But after everything that's happened with this Defender, the death wobble, and all this stuff, that's a pretty big deal. The fact that I drove there, didn't have a death wobble, anything like that, makes me very happy. So it finally feels like it's back to normal again, and now it's just kind of the nice finishing touches. But when I say that, I'm not saying this vehicle will ever be done, you know, something else is going to break and that would be a new thing, new series, whatever. It's never going to be done. It's just this never-ending kind of project car, but that's the fun of it, is these things coming constantly. And I think I said infamously about a year ago, maybe a bit more, that I was like, oh, you know what, I've got all the mods I want on this now, I'm not going to do anything else. But then that's complete and utter rubbish, to put it politely, and there's always more and more stuff that comes along. But I have some stuff planned I'm really excited about. Some of it's very small, but I think it's those small little details that make up the big differences. I don't think there's much more to say. I mean, we know how good LOF Luke, for those of you know him personally, we all know how good his products are. I've now got the LOF POWERspec clutch and the power spring on the pedal and the LOF power slave cylinder as well, which makes it a really nice setup. I got a nice, for a Defender, pretty light clutch. I got a clutch that's suitable for the performance I'm running, and Luke as a guy is awesome and great service as always, really helpful, really friendly. So if you need anything clutch related for your Land Rover, go to Luke. He is the best in the business at this. We can't stress that enough. This is the second clutch we've had from him now. And obviously big thanks to Nissa, who's not here right now. Big thanks for all his help as well. I know it was pretty stressful over that weekend because a lot of things, I say went wrong, it was just those normal things that happen with Land Rovers, that you take things apart and then you try to put them back together again and they don't go together the same way you took them apart. So yeah, we were pulling our hair out at some points, and obviously I couldn't do this without Nissa, we all know that. So big thanks to Nissa as well. Really looking forward to what's next and just sharing it with you guys. I'm going to go drop this off now, and it's going to be there for a few days to get this work done. And then after that I can share a lot more about plans and things that we're going to be up to. We didn't go into as much detail with this clutch swap as we did when we did Nissa's Disco, and that's just, I guess, because we didn't feel we needed to. We went in, if you want the detail of this job of a clutch swap, then you can go watch the Disco 2 clutch swap, which is the same gearbox and everything, so it's a very similar process of Disco 2. It's a very similar platform to the Defender. So if you want the more detail on the job, then you can go watch that video. This one, we covered other stuff, I think we tried to at least, and we had a few differences, single mass flywheel instead of dual mass. The transfer case swap as well was interesting, and so on and so forth. And I look forward to reporting on this more. I think it's one of those long-term things that I look forward to reporting on more as we go forward, reporting on how it is to have the transfer box, the new transfer case gearing and so on, so we can get back on all of that as well longer term. Anyway, I'm just rambling now, so huge thank you for watching, guys. So excited to share with you what's coming, and we will see you in the next video.